Welcome to the Barrier of Entry podcast. My name is Nick Benitez. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 2, and we have a very, very special guest with us here today. But before I give him his proper introduction, the Barrier of Entry podcast was created to literally bridge the gap, literally knock down the border between Canada and US, fully knowing that in the US, our industry, the hair industry, is taken a lot more seriously with industry standards, state board regulations, and all that jazz. However, here in Quebec, here in Montreal, there's no licensing structure. There's no health and safety protocols, which is absolutely insane for a hair salon or barbershop. The barrier of entry, the ability to literally open a barbershop is wide open for anybody. I'm bringing on guests onto this podcast to talk about how they got into the industry. And without further ado, let's welcome him in. My good friend, longtime industry buddy. We've met each other actually during COVID. This guy used to come to my house for haircuts. I don't know why. For some reason, he would come to my house to get a haircut. And here we are now today. Without further ado, Hugo Leblanc.
Thank you.
Hugo, l'artiste.
Yes.
Welcome, my man.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
Good. Very good. Yeah, bro. It's been a long time coming, I think, doing that podcast. Have you been doing a lot of podcasts? Like, how many podcasts did you do so far?
This is episode 2.
2?
Yeah.
My God. Okay. That's
Yes.
cool. That's an honor.
Thank you so much for being on here. Hey, I know you have a very, very busy schedule. You are the founding father of barber education in Montreal. Let's be honest. There's a lot of things I want to dive into today. I created this podcast because I saw a problem in the barber industry, and more specifically in the Montreal industry. Okay, I might be hitting some touch points that people don't really want to talk about.
But there's always going to be problems. You know, it's that's why we move forward all the time.
Absolutely, and we learn and we adapt and we grow. However, all of that I feel cannot happen if there's no structure. So the Barrier of Entry podcast is exactly that. The barrier of entry into the barber industry in Montreal is literally wide open for anybody to. What is stopping you and I and our neighbors, our friends, and our families from literally taking all the empty commercial spaces that are on Saint Laurent or on St. Catherine and just opening up a barbershop? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think the standards of the haircuts and the skills that barbers need nowadays are much higher than what they were like 10 years ago. So
Tell me more about. Sorry to cut you off, but tell me more about your journey. Like, what did the industry look like 10 years ago for Hugo? What was that like for you?
I remember when I started cutting hair. Well, you had few barbershops that are very popular, and people from Laval will know that barbershop. But Punto y Aparte, that was like the most popular barbershop, and it was like a Dominican barbershops, sharp lineup, sharp fades, and the faces of the barbers would change a lot in that barbershop. Sometimes you didn't know. You would just walk in. They took no appointments, but you would just walk in and try to get the best barber, you know, and at that barbershop. And sometimes you would see a new face and you're like, how long has he been cutting hair? And next thing you know, he's been cutting hair for like maybe a month, and he's already behind a chair cutting hair and doing fades and everything. So, and I think that was the expectations of people. Just like, as long as you can do a fade, you can do a sharp lineup. It doesn't have to be perfectly structured. People didn't know what a structured haircut was. It's just, as long as you have a fade, short haircut, line up, you're good to go. So it doesn't take like so long for a barber to learn how to fade, in my opinion. But nowadays, this is not enough. It's not enough. It requires good understanding of scissor work, and people are expecting that.
Yes.
We see more and more scissor haircuts. So I think that's the barrier of entry now. It's like, it's a, I think the industry got more respect because it's not something you can jump into 1 month. 1 month in and you can start making money, and no, it requires quite a lot of time.
No way. No. I seen courses out there. I can pay for a course and I can start charging $100 tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I don't believe in that, unfortunately. No, it's when you start cutting hair, and we've seen it in the pandemic so much that people thought that they could just take a clipper and then start cutting, and we've had so many people reaching out to us and being like, I've never cut hair, I'd like to learn how to cut hair. And I would take apprentice that had like no experience, and they'd be fine for 1 month, but then after a month they realized that they were not even ready after a month to start cutting hair in salon, and they would just give up.
Right.
And that's the it's when they become conscious of their of how hard it is to achieve what we achieve as a barber, they sort of give up and decide to do something else. It's not something that you can just do as a hobby. It's a serious business now. It's like people are expecting very good quality of haircuts. It is not something you can do as a hobby anymore. It's when you get into the barber industry, if you want to make money, if you want to have clients, it's something that you need to work on, like any other career. Yeah,
absolutely. And you mentioned Laval. Like, why did you go straight to that city? Is that where you're from?
Well, that's where I'm from. I grew up in Fabreville, close to Chamonix in Laval, and that's where I started cutting hair in my garage. So
what got you into it? How did you find out about barbering?
So it's funny because I was really into like fading and sharp lineups, like classic Dominican haircuts or afro hair.
I'm Dominican papi.
Yeah, but I was the weird white guy that wanted like sharp lineup at that time, and like people would like find it. It's like when you walk into a barber shop,
right,
and it's filled with like Dominicans. It was sort of intimidating a little bit as a white guy. So,
sure.
But I would still go, and it would just fascinate me, and I liked the fact that like, these guys were cool, man. It's you respect your barber, and their social life were I'm pretty sure like, you develop your social life a lot when you're a barber, and still I have so many connections that I made as a barber. And I think that's the fun part of being a barber, is that you meet so many people and you actually connect with them at the deeper level, because you're with them for like 30-45 minutes, and you get to know about their life a lot, and you get to know them a lot. So I like the fact that you would build connection with people while cutting your hair. And so what got me into barbering, I think that was that at first. And then also the fact that it's like I wanted to I guess unconsciously I wanted to be like that white guy that brings it and make it more comfortable for the guys like me that wanted a haircut like that. And it sort of developed like this. I in high school I would like beg my friends to cut their hair, and I would do it for free, and I would literally go to their houses to cut their hair, and then at some point, like, well, at first, my friends would do it for me. They wouldn't, like, it was a free haircut, but they'd be like, okay, I'll test it out, and I would not do their haircut properly, but they would still like, okay, next time you'll do better and better and better. And then at some point, that was a turning point, is that I actually did a haircut that the guy was happy with,
At what point in your career was that? How many years in or months in?
I would say, well, the standards were quite low. Like if I looked at that haircut, today, I'd be like, that was a terrible haircut, But people back in the days, it was a good fade.
Uh-huh.
So it's like people were happy. And then after people started talking, it was probably a few months in, 6 months in.
And most of the time, most of your education, is that all self-taught? Was it YouTube, or is it actually going into the Dominican barbershops and shadowing them? Like, how did you get into it?
It was a lot of YouTube. A lot of YouTube. Let's say I would have one guy. Okay, I would have like 2-3 haircuts a week, and same guys. You know, it's and like I would see them at school and be like, oh, next haircut, I want to do a mohawk. You know, and then I would be like, I don't know how to do a mohawk. That's the first time I'll ever do a mohawk. So I would go on YouTube how to make a mohawk. And, oh, he wants a skin fade. Oh, first time I do a skin fade. Okay, I need to know how to do a skin fade. Oh, he wants like a line somewhere. So I had few guys I was looking up to on YouTube. And then there's this guy, I think his real name is Randy.
Kaken?
But Kaken.
No way.
Yeah, Kaken.
Yeah. Kaken was who you were watching.
Yeah, he was doing the same thing, like in his garage, and I would see his videos. Yeah,
way.
That was a long time ago, and I fell on his profile like not that long ago. And I was like, yo, it's true. I used to follow this guy like on YouTube and everything.
Wow, yeah. I can't believe that Hugo just said the Kaken's name, because being from Toronto, being part of the whole Filipino community of barbers, Kaken was like our first teacher.
Yeah.
And you found Kaken's videos? That's crazy.
Yeah, Kaken. He was doing skin fades and sharp lineups. There's a bunch of other guys that I don't remember, but I remember Kaken. Wow. I would like watch his videos like five to 10 times, you know, the same video, just to see like all the nuances of whatever he was doing.
Do you remember the secret taper?
The secret taper. Well, I remember the taper. He was doing it on like a disconnected taper. I think.
Yeah. It was called the secret.
Oh, wow. For real?
Yeah, it was called the secret.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but that's funny.
Wow, you're a lot cooler. Now you're like Filipino to me. Yes. I think you're Filipino. That's so funny. I actually met Kaken. I think it was like 2017, 2016. He came to a barber battle to judge.
Yeah, okay.
That was the coolest thing to actually see him, yeah.
I don't know. I've never met him. I've never seen him. But he seemed like a good guy. Like
very down to earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing but good things to say about Randy. So from the garage, how long did it take you to get into a barbershop? Like what was the first barbershop you worked at?
So I tried when I was cutting in my garage, I tried to get into a barber, but then after when I met them, it was like the owners and everything. It was hard for me to justify why I would join them, you know, because I had an established business in my garage, and it was going very well for someone that was cutting in garage. Like I would have my schedule like slammed, and I was.
How much were you charging back then in the garage?
Started with like $5. I had like a page. I had a page on Facebook, and I fell onto it like so randomly. And the name of the page was, what was it? It was like it was cinq balles une chasse. Something like that, okay? Meaning like $5 one haircut.
Yeah.
But literally like the worst slang possible. Cinq balles une chasse, you know? And that was the name of the page. And I was doing haircuts for $5.
Wow.
And then after $5, $10.
Yes.
And then $10, 15, 20, 25. And I think the peak at my inside of my garage was like $25 haircut.
How many years were you cutting in your garage?
So I was cutting in my garage for like 6 years. So as I said, it's like at least 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. I think six years is accurate, actually.
Wow. And what age did you start?
15. So in high school, I would recruit people. And then for 6 years, as I said, I wanted to find a good barbershop. But I had a hard time justifying why I would join a barbershop because, I was busy and I was quite skillful. And I thought I didn't reach like a plateau where I was not taking hair that seriously anyways. Like it was not something that I wanted to do in my life. I was like side hustle. I was wanting to become, I don't know, a doctor, that or something like that. And then with time, you know, I I finished college, and then that's when I decided to like, okay, well, it's if I go to university, I'll have to like focus on university and leave barbering on the side. So that's when I had to make a decision, either university and barbering. And I was like, I'm already skillful in the barbering industry, so I was like, I don't want to let it go, and I just dived into the barbering industry.
So wow. So what was the next step after that? So once you made that decision,
Yeah.
did you immediately open your shop? Did you work in another shop? Like, what was the next step after that?
Well, it's more yeah. Like if I go a little bit more precisely in everything that happened, I was also doing a lot of jiu-jitsu. Okay, the jiu-jitsu, that's where you're doing jiu-jitsu too.
Yes, sir.
There's something special about jiu-jitsu. I love that, and it's like all the, the thinking that goes behind the strategy of like, would you do one technique and then the other one, and then so it's like a chess
puzzle
game.
Yep.
Puzzle chess game, and I love that. I love chess, I love puzzle, this is my thing. And then my academy is called Reflection, not for it's not a mistake.
Absolutely.
So I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, and actually that's what I wanted to do as a career. I was doing competition, I was teaching in jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah.
Why am I learning all this new stuff about you just now?
Yeah,
This is awesome. Where were you teaching?
So there's that gym called Sherbatov MMA. And I was given in Laval. Yanni Sherbatov was my teacher in jiu-jitsu, and he gave me really, like, because I'm someone that's very obsessed with stuff. It's like when I dive into something, I'm very intense.
Yes.
So jiu-jitsu was my main thing, and barbering was just helping me survive. So when I actually decided to not go to university, my first thing that I wanted to do was like, I want to be a jiu-jitsu competitor and just to go like
all the way
worldwide and everything. And it was going well. I was teaching, I was training with the best guys in the city. And I was just on my way up, and I was like, not having the school in the way, I could just focus on training and everything. And at some point, I got injured. I was injured, and I was at my peak. I was like, really onto it, and I would start like really competing with some solid guys in Montreal, and I had like the opportunity to like go to a tournament, potentially winning like a ticket for Abu Dhabi and stuff. And,
wow.
But I got injured, and that fucked me up. That fucked me up.
Where did you get injured?
My knee. I had a meniscus tear.
Meniscus, yeah.
So, which is not necessarily the worst injury, but what happened is, I had to have a surgery on my knee, and the doctor, my coach Yanni, was like, tried to help me and just like find the right doctor and everything, and he helped me out so much. And I found that doctor that was available, because you have to wait so much to find a doctor, and then that doctor was available, and she was like, so I went to see that doctor, and she saw my tear in my meniscus, and she was like, you know what, you have two options when you have a meniscus tear. You either repair it, or you just remove the part that is torn. And usually you remove the part that is torn, it's like a short-term solution. It's gonna allow you to move and have movement, and it's like a 1 month recovery maybe. But when you repair it, it's like they sew it, and you have to keep your knee like not moving straight at all for like, I think a month and a half, and then after it's rehab for like another month and a half, where you have like very little movement, and then another 3 months so it was like a full 6 months of recovery. And you're not even sure to that it's successful. Because in the meniscus, there's no blood flow. There's no like veins or anything. There's not a lot of blood flow. So whenever you tear your meniscus, the chances that it heals are very low. So I was begging, please just remove my meniscus, remove the part that is torn, so I can go back to training like right away.
Wow.
And she said, no, you don't make that decision. I make it. So I was like, you know what? This is gonna be a emotional challenge. I'll just study jiu-jitsu, and if I can't do anything physical, I'm just gonna like dive deep into like studying jiu-jitsu. So that's what I did. And 6 months after, like as I was injured, I started like, okay, well, I have a lot of time in my schedule. So yes, I'm studying jiu-jitsu, but I'll start like exploring new stuff about barbering. So I kept cutting hair, and then after 6 months, sort of felt something wrong in my knee still. And then after a few months after, I realized that the operation didn't work, and I spent like 6 months recovery for absolutely nothing. Shit. And I had to do another surgery, but get into the system again, and I would have to. It destroyed me. I was like, I was at my peak, and it's just like a very simple injury that could have been solved in like few months. It lasted like a year, and it was just a bad timing. So. All the energy that I was putting into jiu-jitsu, I ended up putting it into something else. That was barbering. And I started like diving deep into barbering and just cutting, and just like with some like motivation, but also rage. Like I need to do something with my life. So I was doing it in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, it's crazy. And now I'm here. I'm super happy with what I do. But like, when I look back, I was so destroyed by that. I'm like, wow, I really love jiu-jitsu, you know? And it's like what my life would be if I was still doing jiu-jitsu. What would it look like, you know? Now I'm kind of happy it happened. It's like a gift.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this about you. That's amazing. What a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine you in another life, it's you against
breaking arms and
Gordon
choking
Ryan.
people. Yeah, exactly. Gordon Ryan. I would go against him. I would probably get destroyed by this guy.
I think he fell off a bit. I think he had to recover. I think he stopped the roids. I don't know anything about the jiu-jitsu community right now. I'm just talking shit.
But at some point, I think he had he was so popular. But then after, I think he had like a rash or something like serious health-wise. And since then, we don't. Since that time, we don't hear that much about him.
But there's another guy. There's a young guy with glasses. He's a bit of a nerd. I forgot his name. But honestly, he would be that would be you actually.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'll send you his page if I find it after. But
yeah.
Wow, what a story! Wow, it's like. So maybe that's the real barrier of entry. You need to get your meniscus torn and then
after just like. But you know what? What's one of the biggest lesson that I got from that is that I wanted so much. I was doing school, I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was doing barbering, and I would be like decent in everything, you know.
Yeah.
Would be like jiu-jitsu was my main focus. That's where I was like performing the most. But at school, I was like fine, you know. And barbering, I was doing fine. I would still be a good barber, but I was, you know, fine. And then when I stopped going to school and I was like, okay, school is not for me. I'll just like focus on jiu-jitsu. Started performing so well in jiu-jitsu, and barbering was like, you know, just And then when I stopped doing jiu-jitsu and I focused on barbering, that's when I progressed so much. This was the only thing I was focusing on. And I skyrocketed so much. It's like when you have your focus, like, oh, I want to have, you know, I want to be good at school. I want to be good at jiu-jitsu. I want to be good at barbering. I want this. I want to go out at night. I want to smoke weed. I want to, like, you know, when you have to think about so many things, it's hard to actually perform. But when you actually narrow all your focus, that's when you perform the best. And in that year, it just changed my life.
What year was that?
I was probably, when all that happened, like the big shift is I was 20, so 10 years ago. So
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, that the industry looked a whole lot different back then, for sure.
16 years. Yeah. It was, and yeah, so when I got injured, what's crazy about this is that's when I discovered Josh and Monica. Josh and Monica was like massive inspiration for me at that time, because he was bringing the scissor work and precision cutting base into the barbering industry. Usually it was like mostly for women hair. Barbering industry was just like all about sharp fades and that's it. But when I saw that, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to university. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu anymore. If I ever go to the barbering industry, I need to find like the PhD, the PhD of the barbering industry. And when I saw him, I was like, if there's ever like a PhD of barbering, it's probably going to look a lot like his approach. So a lot of people wouldn't even know him at all. So I was in crutches, still recovering from my surgery. I was like, I'm just curious. I'll go see him. And he was, the moment I discovered him, like I think 2 weeks after, he was going to Toronto and doing a seminar. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do. I'm just going to get a ticket and I'll go see him. So yeah, I took the train. I was with crutches and took the train with my crutches and my tools and everything. And I went to Toronto.
Wow.
To go to that seminar. And
how long was the seminar?
It was like 2 hours.
Really?
2 hours. It was 2 haircuts.
Okay.
2 haircuts. And so I walk in glass box, like I was early and I was the first one to arrive, and and it was at glass box. The seminar was at glass box. So I walk into glass box for the first time, the harbor location, and I see Josh and Monica sitting at the reception. And I'm like, oh, I really like your work and everything. He greets me and he sees me with crutches and he's like, where are you from? I'm like, I just took the train. And he's like, oh, that's impressive. And then he's like, show me your work. I'd like to see your work. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm super excited. I'm like very proud of my haircuts. And I show it kind of, yeah, I'm shaking. And I'm like, yo, I can't wait for him to compliment my haircut. And I show it to him. He looks at it. And all he says is like, I love your passion. I was like, yo, this was kind of a shock.
Wow.
This is like the first time that someone, it was like the most polite way of saying like, yeah, your work still needs.
It's like a pat on the back.
Yes.
Maybe next year, kid.
Exactly, kind of. But like, it's like, I love your passion. It was like, wow. But I respected it because he was like very good. I was like, okay, I need some work, And did that seminar. There was probably like 15 people, not even. The tickets were like quite cheap. Also, I think I paid like maybe $80.
Wow.
For a seminar with Josh and Monica. There's 15 people, and it just like that seminar just blew my mind. My uncle lives in Toronto and comes pick me up. He comes and pick me up because I was sleeping at his place. Yeah. And he was like, so how was the seminar? What did you learn? And I looked at him and I was like, I learned that I had a shit ton of things to learn. I did not pick up anything. First, my English was terrible.
Really?
I couldn't speak English.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't speak English. Plus, he had British accent. Plus, on top of that, I had no knowledge of anything. Like, I didn't know, like, shapes were a thing. I didn't know, like, sectioning were a thing, There were so many things that I was not aware of. So I was like, wow, that was a slap in the face of, like, I don't know anything.
Wow.
I didn't learn anything but that I sucked. So, So yeah, and then after I started being like a little bit, not a little bit, but obsessed with all of that. It was
Wow.
like, wow, I really need to do something different because like I'm actually bad. I was just looking at what was around me in Montreal. I thought I was pretty good, but when you look at the bigger picture and like what's happening outside, it's when you realize like actually, you know,
I'm a
just
drop in this bucket. I'm a drop.
exactly.
You're nothing. Like you're very small.
It's like being in a cave and thinking that you're good in that cave, but you get out of that cave and you realize like, oh shit, there's more stuff going on. So that's when I started being very obsessed with that, and I was like, okay, I'll need to learn, and I tried to learn by myself without any education, right? So then yeah, it's so I so as I was cutting hair, I realized that I couldn't progress. I saw something that I couldn't understand, so I couldn't keep progressing. So I was like, you know what? I think I need to get a ticket and fly to UK to learn from Inspire. So so I flew to London, bought a ticket. It was probably like the whole trip was about like $4,000, which was, you know, for a 5-day training, which people would be it was like, why are you spending that much money? You know, that's crazy. I was 20 years old. You know, I could have went out to clubbing and bought like so many bottles, man, for 4Gs. And buy a lot of pair of shoes, and you know, the 4Gs. You have there's a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah.
So, but I still went, and life changing. That was life changing. It really widened my perspective of hair and everything. And then I wanted to keep like, you know, building on that whatever I learned in that class. So I was like, man, what's the next thing to do? And that's when I asked for a job to Peter Gosling. So I went to work at Glassbox. So I had to leave Montreal and move to Toronto, but it's crazy. Again, I didn't know how to learn how to speak English properly. It's fairly new to me, like England in the English. So I left Montreal and I moved to Toronto, and I didn't have a place to live, to stay. So Peter hosted me at his house, and I was sleeping on his couch for like 2 months.
No way.
Yeah. I was sleeping on his couch. Yeah.
Wow. Peter.
Shout out to Peter.
Shout out to Peter.
For sure.
Hey, next time I'm in Toronto, man, I don't got a place to stay either. I hope you can, Peter, please give me your couch.
I think it was such a bad experience that he's like, never again.
Why? What?
Never again. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I think I was a good, I was a decent
Roommate?
Roommate, yeah.
Nice.
I was very grateful for that. So yeah. But yeah, for sure. I stayed, and then at some point after 2 months, I was like sticking to his couch, and he's like, "Yo, Hugo, you have to find another place," you know. So after 2 months, I moved out, and I was working with Alexi Michael. I was working with Dylan Portner and everything. So Alexi was staying in the house with like 6 roommates, but there was a room that was open, so I was like the 7th, and then we had one guy also that was living with us, Josh Murray. I remember, super chill guy too.
He's a barber?
He's a barber. Okay. He's not cutting hair anymore, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I lived with them, and we were in the house with like 8 people. Like we were 8 people, and we didn't know, like we knew each other because we were working together. But like the rest of the people, we didn't know their name. And there was like that owner that lived in the house. Her father was like living, I don't know, he was always around, but I never realized like where he was sleeping. And at some point in the winter, he would just like sleep on the couch. So it was like, yeah.
That's odd. Okay.
a weird situation. Yeah, it was. But Toronto is expensive, man. We were just like all we needed is a place to sleep, and then after go to work. And the progress that I made by working with like such a passionate group, it was life changing for me. You know, having Peter Gosling, Dylan Portner, you had Alexi Michael, you had Josh Murray was also very passionate about the work at that time. And there's a bunch of names that I'm not even mentioning right now. But I was working with very passionate. And I think at that time, and it's not a mistake that like people that are very successful in Canada was working there. I think it was the place to be.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then after over time, I missed Montreal, went back to Montreal and opened my barbershop.
Wow. What a story. Guys, I would put a round of applause sound effect on that one. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that story. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's I think it's you need to make moves, man. It's crazy to think about, but I'm so grateful for what I did in the past, but I had that mentality when I was younger also, to be like, you know, I want my future self to be great, to like be thankful for whatever I'm doing right now. It's just having the ability of like doing something hard now that is going to benefit you on the long term. And I kept having like that mentality all through my career, where like, okay, I know it's not easy right now, but my future self is going to thank me. And I still have that mentality. I'm still doing stuff right now that doesn't seem to like be enjoyable 100%, right? But I think that my future self is going to be like me next year is going to be pretty proud of what I'm accomplishing this year, you know?
Absolutely. I know exactly what to ask you next about that, about what's going on next year. But before I get into that, I need to ask you, or tell you,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that you brought a new flair, a new concept of cutting hair to Montreal.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I moved to Toronto to work at Glassbox, it was not just because I wanted to leave Montreal. It's just because what I was seeking in terms of what I wanted to learn, I couldn't find it in Montreal.
Right.
I really couldn't. I was looking around and I was like, this barbershop is successful. I'll see what they're doing. And I've seen like many barbers and talented barbers, but it's just like talented barbers locally is different than like talented barber worldwide. And I keep saying this, it's a different ball game. If you keep just looking at what happens locally, you know, it just sets you, it blocks you from seeing what could be even better. So I always had eyes to like whatever is outside. And when I moved to Toronto, it's because like I was like, this is the most realistic place I can go that will allow me to push my skill set to another level. So when I came back to Montreal, I was the guy from Montreal known to have worked with Glassbox. So I had like sort of that aura already. When I moved back to Montreal, I was like, you know, and that's how I met Jeffrey, my business partner. I was the guy from Montreal that moved to Glassbox. Now that is coming back to Montreal with some knowledge. So he was like, yo, I need to go see this guy. And that's how I met the first people that I worked with when I opened the barbershop. So Jeffrey came to he was living in Saint-Henri, Montreal, so the south side of Montreal. Then traveled all the way from the south side of Montreal, went Laval, which is on the north shore of Montreal, just to get a haircut by me. And it was just, you know, getting to know me, and that's it. Gave him a cut. He loved it. I was looking to open a barbershop. He was looking to open a barbershop, and we were just like talking about it. And he was he was doing business with other guys. I was doing business with another guy, and it just didn't work out on my end, and on his end, it didn't work out with the guys neither. They weren't like so serious. So we were like, you know what? Like, what if we tried? I met him like probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, you know? So what if, you know, we explored the possibility of just opening a shop together? I didn't even know the guy, you know, which is crazy. I don't recommend that, okay? When I'm telling that story, I'm like, yo, I've tried to do business with guys that I known for 10 years and it didn't work. For him, I've been in business with 8 years with him, and I've known him for 8 years and a half, probably, you know?
Right.
So we just started like testing the field and just like exploring, and then going to see commercial space, and we would give each other like meetings every week, and we would not skip one. And,
Wow.
and we saw like, okay, it's actually serious. It's the first guy that I meet that is actually serious about it. And yeah, we found a spot after like maybe three months of looking into it, and we signed the lease, and I've known him for like, and then from the time I met him and the time that I opened the doors and I greeted the first clients, 6 months apart.
Very cool.
And 8 years after, we're still doing business together. He's doing great. He's the guy that I trust the most in terms of business. And yeah.
Wow. I know you said, well, first of all, a round of applause for that. Shout out to Jeffrey. Shout out to Salon Maniac. You guys are killing it. You guys are the giants of Montreal.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're doing fantastic too with like the events that you're pulling up, and
Thank you.
you know, with the hair anatomy. And when this will come out, it will be announced that I will be there.
He said it. I didn't say it. He said it.
I'll be there.
Hugo will be showcasing at the Hair Anatomy Hair Jam, hosted by myself, Villa Worldwide, and Victor Ignacio in our space. This guy will be showing precision cutting
Yes.
in the salon, and it's only $25 to come see him.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a cool event.
thank you so much again for
Yeah.
doing that.
Yes,
And
of course.
I know you said you don't recommend anyone starting to do business with someone you just met for 2 weeks. But it's so funny that you say that. My now fiance and I, we were family friends. We reconnected after 4 days of talking to each other because she slid into my DMs. She was trying to learn barbering.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hairstyle.
We all know that.
Yeah,
we all know that trick.
yeah. We all know that. So after 4 days of speaking with her, we started dating. 6 months later, we opened the shop together.
Really?
So I know you don't recommend it. I don't recommend it either. But it seems to.
It's crazy,
It
yeah?
seems to work.
Yeah. What makes it work so well, you think? What made it work so well?
Well, I think it's more about the principle of, what you're saying about Jeffrey. It's like, you've known people and you try to do business with people that you've known for 10 years. But then along your journey and along, the path that you're taking for yourself, your goals and your ambitions, you just naturally meet people that are aligned with you.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's what happened. Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that come into your life and to be a part of your journey, there's just a feeling I'm sure that you've had with Jeffrey, and I've had certain feelings with working with, for example, Richard from Maintain, and now Frankie from Antidot.
Mm-hmm.
And even with you, like, me and the boys at Hair Anatomy, we invested in 3 days of hands-on training with you.
Yeah.
And it was like almost like reconnecting with an old friend because I've known you maybe for like a week. We've known each other for like 7 days collectively. And after reconnecting with you, I was like, dude, like, I feel like we're super aligned. And it's just like that, It's like, it's very cool.
Yeah, we were seeing each other way more often before you open your shop.
Exactly.
And when you open your shop, it's like, you get busy, you filter, your time, you need to dedicate your time. It's not because I haven't seen you in a long time that, we're not friends anymore.
I need to be honest. I would like you to be honest with me because this is a question that I've had for a long time. Why were you and Jeffrey coming to my house?
I think Well, I think you're a cool guy. That's it. No, I think I think you were doing great also for yourself, and you would, I think you were just like a nice guy to connect with, and it's fun also to meet with people that like align with your vision and sort of your vision of the industry, and I think that's is that, and also you were coming to get haircuts by you were coming to the barbershop to get a haircut, and I respected that a lot, and I respect a lot of people that comes. I always respect people that comes on my chair. So I was like, why not making an exchange? You come get a haircut. Oh, okay, good. I'll come to see you. And
that was really cool. I appreciated that. I think I have a TikTok that was like saved in my like drafts. I think I have like a filter of you with like a bald. You're like bald or something. I don't know. I saw it. I saw it. Like
a filter of me bald.
Yeah.
It would be the worst thing.
Yeah,
worst. I have such a weird head shape.
So take us from that point and on. So you clearly have passion in this industry. You clearly are one of those people that really want to just obsess over something that you really find interesting, whether that be jiu-jitsu, whether that be barbering. And that journey that you just shared with us, that journey to me is like that's what I love. Like when I hear other people's stories, like that's the type of stories I want to like. That's how I know that this person is serious, rather than started in my garage and YouTube and then I opened a shop. I mean, that's cool. Not to discredit anyone's journey like that, but the fact that you actually took the time to invest in your education, invest in yourself. Now, people are investing in you. People are investing into your course.
Yeah.
Tell us what your program is all about.
My program is all about I think that's what people appreciate from my class is that it gives a different perspective of the theory. And a lot of people, when they come to my class, especially at the beginning, was like they like my work, so they're curious. They want to see what my program is. But they're not aware that they're going to see a different system that actually may make a lot of sense to a lot of people. I don't show the theory the same way. And I've heard that very often, is that my theory is actually interesting. And I think that's and entertaining. It's not boring. It's not boring theory of like everything that you've heard. I challenge a lot what is being thought traditionally, and I like to give it a different approach that is closer to scientifical approach. I really like the scientifical approach, and I obsess over that.
Yeah, like
optimizing everything, every decision making, because cutting hair is an art, but there's a way to explain art through science. Like there's a science behind art. It's not two separate things. I don't believe in that. And there's a reason why stuff works. And there's a reason also it is teachable. If it's all about like there's nothing rational about it, how can you even, teach it? There's some rules to follow in order to make something work. And this is why there's courses, because you follow those set of rules and you're able to create something that is interesting. But then after, those sets of rules can be like applied in a different way and create different stuff that are like that makes a haircut more creative than another one. But I think that's the approach that people like. It's like the rationality behind everything, and even I bring the rationality to creativity. And I obsess over it, and I like to dive deep into everything. And people are like, I've known to be an overthinker. Some people like using overthinking as. But for me, it's just thinking further. That's all. It's not overthinking. I like to dive deep into everything. And I progress also my courses. Every time I teach my course, I find ways to improve it. So I've seen people coming in on the early reflection courses that I was teaching, and they came like years after, and they're still like experiencing something new, because the way I approach the theory, I try to optimize it, and whatever I'm teaching now, I think it's decent, but
It's great.
it won't be the same thing in 2 years, and I do believe in 2 years it's going to be way better because I always find ways to like try to improve it.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask you, why do you think it's important that you constantly update your curriculum?
The industry has evolved, and right now I don't know everything. My goal, the goal is to know everything, but it's not impossible. So it's like science. So it's I discover new things, new techniques. I discover and I optimize my approach as much as possible. I do believe that my approach is very optimized, but it's not perfect.
Right.
So I'm really open to criticize, and I test stuff, and I discover new approaches. So I improve my class every year, and I know in my head that what I'm teaching is nothing compared to what it could become, and I'm aware of it.
Wow.
And what people sometimes don't do enough, I think, is they're so much into the action and forget to think.
Perfect segue, because when you talk about thinking and thought process,
Yeah,
that's where the name reflection came from.
exactly. That's where it came from, because there's a lot of thinking behind reflection. There was actually reflection is there's diagrams that I've worked very hard with, like graphic designer Angel, my graphic designer. We spent the pandemic literally on Google Meet, and I was drawing things, and he was trying to adapt it to digital, exactly, and make it digital and everything. And then after he was doing a line, I was like, no, not quite like this. You need to change the angle. It needs to connect with this. So we would spend days literally doing those diagrams.
Wow.
And yeah, so. But there was a lot of thinking. It's not just cutting hair just to cut hair, but it's just like, after I've cut hair, how can I improve that approach? And next time I do this haircut, how can I make it better? So you cannot be in that state of mind of thinking if you just keep cutting hair all the time.
Right.
Like, and I take that approach in business also. It's like, how can I improve my business? Well, you need some days where you actually just like spend a day reflecting to improve. And, if you're just in the action of like doing, like you got hair behind the chair and that's all you do all day long, and you smash haircuts every 30 minutes, you're going to have a hard time to improve. And you see, the one of the main thing also that's a lesson that I got from jiu-jitsu is there's so much thinking behind jiu-jitsu that it's like I would literally finish a practice, get tapped out by a guy, and then
sit there and think,
sit there, exactly,
and be like, how did I end up in that position? What
exactly.
did I do wrong? Yep.
And then I would finish that training and tap out and being like, what did I do wrong? And making my research on YouTube and being like, oh, this is the technique that I should have used. And it's so obvious.
Yes.
And then I would not sleep for one night and be like, I cannot wait to go back
to the mats.
And utilizing that same situation and having the reflex of doing it,
Yeah.
But it requires like a lot of mental practice. But it's the same thing with cutting hair, where I'm like, oh man, this is what I should have done. Like, instead of taking the hair in that angle, I should have taken it in a different angle and just made sure that the over direction is correct, the elevation is correct. And I would just like, I can't wait to have that same haircut. And then I would look like, oh, he's coming back in 4 weeks. Okay, I just need to remember when he comes back in 4 weeks, I do this differently.
Right.
There's so much like thinking behind it. And that's the advantage of taking the time to think. You cannot just be cutting hair.
Absolutely. It's funny. My thought process the entire time I took your course. Okay, this is a live testimonial for you. Okay. When I took the reflection course, mind you, I've been cutting hair for over 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time I've ever taken a private hands-on training ever in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I came from an environment that was suburban and suburban. It was from the suburbs, and all the barbers around me, we all lived with our parents, and everything was expensive. So it's like I learned how to be resourceful. Okay.
Yeah.
One guy that cut beside me, his name was Aaron. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to RF Hair Studio. Aaron took a glass box class, 3-day glass box class, and it was like $1,500 back then.
Yeah.
And then we all were like, "Well, this is kind of crazy. You're leveling up, whatever." But to me, it was expensive, right? He comes back, and his haircuts were like, "Whoa!" Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, me being resourceful, what I would do is I would watch Aaron and tell Aaron to teach me. So I would save $1,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I took your course, actually listening to your theory and your thought process, okay? Now, back then, me, when I was taking everything secondhand off of Aaron, I was cutting my clients, I was the community barber, just, wanted to build your clientele up. Now, I'm at a point in my career where, I'm working for brands. I'm working with, I'm getting flown to shows in the U.S. and things like that. And taking your course made me realize two things. Number one, education in the industry right now, everything feels secondhand. Everything feels like this guy got it from this guy, and he's just charging $2,000 for it. And you listen to the people that would take these courses, and it sounds a lot like yours.
Yeah.
Especially if we think about local educators.
Yeah.
Do you feel, because I announced you as the founding father of barber education in Montreal, and I truly believe that. Do you feel that once you started your education courses started popping out of nowhere?
Yeah, it took some time. It takes some time to like, and this is something that I'm realizing in the last like 2 years. It's like when you give a workshop, that workshop will not necessarily make you a lot better, but it gives you potential. It gives you a lot of potential. So the information that I'm sharing gives you potential to get better. Then after, the next step in order to reach that potential is to practice, and it takes time. Usually the course that I'm giving people is just gonna, the information that I'm giving, there's a lot of things that I'm saying that might actually sort of register, but you don't realize it. And as you're cutting, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months after, it might actually, like, you might start having a breakthrough.
Right.
That comes way after the class. So, and then after, it just like helps you. And then after, you see some videos and it's like, oh, that's why he was saying this. So I feel like there's one particular class that I gave, the first 5 days that I gave. A lot of the guys during that class are starting to educate now, and their system is inspired by mine, and that's flattering, of course, because my goal is to expand that system a lot, and it made a lot of sense, and it took time for them to digest all the information, but they all like sort of came up with their classes like kind of at the same time. That it was quite recently in the past like 2 years. Exactly. So this is something that happens. So how those guys were able to teach? Well, it's because they all came to the same class, and it didn't happen by mistake. First, shout out to them. They were probably the hungriest barbers at the same time that wanted to educate. So that's why they took my first class. But that first class gave them potential. There's a lot of people that are taking my class and they're not necessarily at their level. But after they grinded and they were able to start teaching. So I think this is the potential that a class with me can give, is to allow you to understand hair at a deeper level, gives you potential. But then after, it's up to them to work. Like, I cannot be behind them and being like, don't forget to practice this, don't forget to, no, it's up to them after. So yeah, I think I'm happy and I'm grateful. And when I see that, I'm like, you know what, this is very good. And yeah, I think, this is what I see with educators. But you said it. You cannot wait for someone to take a class for you so you can learn from them.
Yes.
It's I think that's the most important, because there's going to be, it's like the telephone game,
Broken telephone.
How do you call that?
Broken telephone.
Broken telephone, exactly. You say something to someone and that person just like think they heard something, and then you have the higher risk of making mistake, and the last person that is at the end of the line, they'll hear something completely different.
Right.
So you want to be the first guy. This
Right.
guy has the most potential of understanding what the first guy said, because after there might be like, mistakes in the message, and you may not be able to like understand what the first person said. So, and I've seen it quite a lot where people, they wait for people to take courses for them, which is it's not the most efficient. Like, technically, yes, you're saving some money, but you're gonna grow slower.
Very.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I took back from your education course, was, as an educator myself, I actually questioned my own self-given title as an educator after taking your course, because this educator title that I was given was something that I obtained when I first joined Babyliss. Okay. And Babyliss basically taught me how to teach. Okay. That's what was happening in my mind. But I didn't realize that I was taught how to teach on a stage. And when you're on stage, you're on there for minimum 30 minutes, maximum 1 hour. And you got to learn how to get the attention of hundreds of people within that amount of time. I took that and then started my own education. Yeah. Hair anatomy education. I did a Montreal one, I did a Sherbrooke one, I did a Toronto one. And when I look back at all of my first classes, even some of my recent classes too, back in November, I realized that I'm teaching something secondhand. And you made me realize that a true educator, or someone that actually has an actual course, call it Reflection Academy, Hair Anatomy Education, whatever your course is called, if there's no structure, there's no critical thinking or actual solid theory behind it. Like when we took your course, okay, first of all, you have the biggest, the hardest critics in the room. You have Ali and you have Jay. Okay, they question everything. They want to make sure that you they're actually testing you, not to size you up, but to see like, hey, like, does Hugo actually know what he's talking about? And you were able to do that because your understanding of your theory that you created under your brand and your academy is so solidified. Yeah. It made me realize that my educator title, I need to go back to the drawing board. Yeah. And you are actually the educator's educator, rather, whether that be locally, but now you're becoming globally recognized.
Yeah. So anybody can be an educator. It depends on, like, let's say someone that's been cutting hair for 1 year can actually become an educator, but you might educate people that have less than a year of experience, right? So anybody can title themselves educators, but you're but it's to whom you're educating that is the question. So to whom are you an educator? So the more experience you gain and the better your skills are, the broader people, the more barbers you can start educating. So so there's a lot of educators nowadays, and they're entitled to call themselves educators because
Absolutely.
you can become an educator. But the question is, who are you educating? Like, are you educating people with less skills? So if you want to become an educator that, like, anybody that sees you can learn something, it requires so much time, practice, and it's a very hard thing to reach. So I think anybody can call themselves educators, but it's just like, well, if you're starting educating like quite early in your career, it's just that you won't be able to right now to start educating like the whole industry. It's very limited. And then the people that your audience that you can educate, well, it might be a little bit harder to sell higher price tickets because you don't necessarily have the skills that people are like hungry to learn. So educating is actually a hard thing to do, right? I feel like in terms of education, if you want to make a living out of it, you really have to be like not even top 1%. How many barbers are there in Montreal? Like, I don't know. That's a statistic that I don't even know, but let's say 2,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 2,000 or 3,000 probably.
Yeah, 2,000.
Yeah.
So, but how many educators there is? Well, maybe like there's some educators. There's like 5 educators, but 5 educators that like maybe 3 of them can teach like the first 1,000 people. Then 2 more of them can teach like, you know, the first 2,000. There's probably like 1 that can teach all of them. That can actually bring something to the whole industry. But you need to be an educator at that level. It requires like, okay, well, you're 1 in 2,000. What does that make? Like 0.5%? Or is it?
I don't know math.
You don't know math?
I don't know.
Me either.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a barber. Actually, I think, well, let's say there's 2,000 barbers. So I think it's 0.5. I think.
Okay.
1,000 would be, no, a 0.1. So it's a 0.05%, which is hard. And then internationally, how many international barbers is there? How many barbers? There's, like, let's say, when back in my mind, let's say 10 that are known internationally to educate, maybe a little bit more, but like that are solid 10. Well, if you compare, if you like, how many barber are there in the whole world? There's a lot.
Yeah.
So to be internationally known, you have to be part of the 0.00001%. Like it's very, very hard. So they're educators to the whole industry as a whole. You can teach anybody. People will have something to learn from you. But then you can be, it just depends who do you want to teach? You can be one in the top 1% of all the barbers. Well, there's still a lot of people that you can teach. It's just the prices can be a little bit cheaper.
Right.
But when you're part of the 0.0001%, then your prices can increase and you can make a better living out of it.
Absolutely.
It's just it's a hard like career to get to, and it requires a lot of practice and a lot of reflection. You know,
Reflection.
that's it.
Back to reflection. Perfect segue. As an educator, It seems like you're focusing more on that part of your career right now.
Yes.
What are
Yeah.
the next steps? What's going on with you?
So I'm currently full into my academy. So I have committed myself to a rent.
Good for you.
So we're doing all the renovations of the academy, and it's gonna open beginning of May.
Hey,
So yeah, I have some courses lined up for this, and it's, for me that was such an important step. I have committed to my barbershop in the past like 2-3 years. I've heard so many people saying like, "Yo, bro, why aren't you educating, or why aren't you even active on social media and everything?" And I'm like, you might not notice it, but I'm actually working very hard on my education without actually working on my education. I'm working on like the structure just underneath my education, which is my barbershop, my team. I'm working on the structure of my barbershop to make sure that I don't have to be there every day and it still runs. I'm working on making my guys at the barbershop happy, like giving them training, giving them opportunity in terms of content creation. Training them so that they so that I can focus on education more than I would if I was just doing a little bit of education, a little bit of barbering, a lot of like I'm someone that cannot work on two things separately. Like I'm really just so that's why I for 1 year I stopped educating, and people were like, "Yo, he disappeared. Where is he?" Like, you don't know, but I'm actually working very hard on trying to focus on education. This is why I'm not present right now. So yeah, but like in that year that I've sacrificed my education, I actually unlocked a lot of opportunity in terms of education, because now I can actually focus 100% into the education. Maybe not 100%, but a solid 80%. And this year is going to be, it's a massive milestone. This is what I've been working hard, and I've said it. It's like I've accomplished last year. I've accomplished something, in my opinion, that my future self, that is today, that will be grateful. That was going to be grateful. I am grateful for the person that I was last year, because I've made a lot of sacrifices in my passion in terms of I focused a lot on my barbers and my barbershop, which is, I love doing it, but it's not the end goal. The end goal is to become an educator, like full time, as much as possible. So, and that year that I sacrificed my education, like it allows me to do that more. So I've committed to rent. So now I have no choice to go. I can't go back. I've signed a lease, and I've invested a lot in the education. And this is like a little push that I needed, and now I have so many things lined up, and I'm very, very like looking forward to what's coming up in the education. And we'll see how it goes.
I know you probably don't want to speak too much about it, but what can we expect?
First, I'm working like gradually to improve, and I said it, improve. And I think that the main issue that I had when I was teaching was that I didn't have a space that was dedicated to the academy. So the experience was always was a good experience, but it was not the best experience that you can have, because every time I had to bring my stuff, and the studio that I would rent would not necessarily be like perfectly set up for an academy. So it's very time consuming on my end, but also in terms of like the environment was not like necessarily the most the best. So now I will have like an academy that is just made for the academy. So everything is going to be easier. You're going to be in a much better environment in terms of the aesthetic. It's going to be beautiful. And I think that just the environment is so important to have a good experience, and to have people like really dive into the theory. Because if the whole environment is created for you to immerse yourself into the theory, you're just gonna get so much more from it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the aesthetic is gonna be super clean. The place is gonna be beautiful, and it's just gonna allow people to be even more precise and understand reflection even more.
I love that.
Yeah, because it's not only just the theory and just like the lessons that are taught that are gonna be like very valuable. It's just the whole experience as a whole.
And when you say that you're creating an academy, is it like a 3-month program, 6-month program, or are you just throwing events there? Like how did you plan?
So, so from my experience, I try not to plan too much in advance. So what I have new right now is the academy. So I want to be able to offer different options, that's for sure. But I'll stick with whatever is I'm already offering, but just like improve it even more because people love it. I've never been so busy recently in terms of education. So I'll just keep doing that while improving what I already have as like a 5-day course and also giving private courses. But with time, I would definitely like to add something because I have so much things in my head right now that I'm like, I could have a longer course and a longer program I can have. And I have a solid team also that can potentially start teaching more beginners programs. So there's a lot of possibility. I'm not taking all the options because, as I said, I don't like to spread myself too thin into too many different things. But there's possibilities, and I'll take the opportunities when they present themselves. But for sure, I'm going to have to rework on my program, offer different things. But what? I don't know yet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if ever you need any help, let me know.
Yes, you're the man.
Let me know.
Thank you.
If you want someone to speak on, make videos and content for you, be your extroverted guy on
yeah,
there,
exactly.
let
on
me know.
set. Yeah, for sure. No, we can definitely work something out and collaborating on some stuff. Like I think it would be good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. I think we're pretty much all caught up. I think we know everything about you. Almost everything about you. First of all, congratulations to you and your fiance.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Well, you too.
Thank you.
too.
Thank you, sir. And it's really, really an honor to have you here and to hear your story. It's really cool, man. I think the fact that you learned a lot from jiu-jitsu to me is one of those things that's one of those things that I value because when I was, I still train jiu-jitsu, but, when I was on my journey as well, I realized that like sometimes when you're like behind the chair for years and years, same clientele, and you just get like sheltered from the reality of things. Yeah. When you are on the mats, you're put in a position you normally wouldn't have been put in, like in a barbershop, like in a freaking rear naked choke.
Yeah.
It makes you realize like, there's more to life, and I feel like
Absolutely.
That's where the real awakening and the inspiration really comes from to be able to grow is when you break out of your environment and get a new perspective and then bring it back home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things that I learned that I can take from jiu-jitsu. So many just by teaching. I think, I was teaching jiu-jitsu, but what I was teaching in jiu-jitsu is the approach that I was taking is very similar to the approach that I'm taking as a barber educator also. So yeah, whenever you do something, even if I didn't kept going with jiu-jitsu, there's so many lessons that I got from that. It's like a door that closed on me, but it just opened a different door, and I'm still taking so much of lessons that I got from jiu-jitsu into the barbering industry. So much. Yeah,
absolutely. So this is a part where I was very hesitant. I might not even put this in the podcast, this part right now, but what I'm about to say, okay? Just depending.
Go. Bring it on.
So I believe that the rules and regulations, the legalities of being a barber and hairstylist here in Quebec is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think what should be happening is that we should have licenses to be able to either cut hair, to either operate in a shop, and to educate.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
So I think I can't even like, I feel like I was gonna say something political, but like I won't say it. But it's just I came from a background of like zero certificates, zero. Well, I had certificate, but no diploma. I understand the importance of diploma because it adds safety. It adds a lot of
Credibility?
credibility, that's for sure. Some seriousness into like when a student comes in, you're sure that like when he finishes his diploma, he has a certain like skill set. But it limits also in terms of, let's say if in the year that I made the biggest change in my career, if in that year, instead of like following what I needed to do to reach my skill set, I had to go to a school to give me a diploma, I wouldn't be the same barber today. I don't think so. Because I was able to, like, I was not interested in seeing what Montreal had to give me at that time. I was not interested in that, and I had to go somewhere and take initiatives. And if I was blocked by rules of like, well, in order to become a barber, you need to go to hairdressing school that will teach you actually like some women haircuts that you will never do in your life. It just like slows you down. It's like a detour that I believe that I wouldn't probably be the same barber today if I had to do it. But it comes with a risk, of course. It's like you have it's not all black and white. I think it's like, what do we want as an industry? Is like, do we want more safety? Well, yes, but it comes with a price in terms of growth, in my opinion. It's like anything. It's like when you put set of rules, it might slow down some process, because then after, if you're adding regulations and being like, you need a diploma, so you need to go see that school in order to be allowed to start cutting hair. Well, the reality is, what we've seen is the schools don't necessarily have crazy incentives to make their courses up to date and also competitive. But when your courses are extremely not when your courses are optional because they're private, like mine, and you don't need my certificate to cut hair, so my course needs to be sharp for people to actually take their course. I think that's fascinating, and that's very important. Is people that take my course, they don't have to, but they want to. They want to take it. Having a diploma will sort of force people to do it, but they won't necessarily. If they had the option, they wouldn't necessarily go there. They would probably go see another education. But fuck, I need to go see this one to give me my diploma. So that's my approach. And that's the challenge that happens whenever, you have that sort of system. You're going to go see that school, that academy, because they give a diploma, not because they have the knowledge that you want to learn. So it's the downside. So both options, it's like, what do we want as an industry? Do we want like pure safety in terms of like seriousness and all that? So we force people to have like a certain paper, or do you want to give people option? So, and that might actually create more like skills, but less security.
Well, now that I know where you stand, let me give you a scenario.
Yes,
Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
If the government of Quebec came to you today and was like, everything that you're doing for your course, everything that you're doing for your education, you are the new standard. No one can open a barbershop without your license. No one can cut hair without your license. And no one can educate without the reflection license. Would that be something that you'd be interested in being the leader of? Fully knowing that the industry changes all the time, okay? And let's say, I don't know how old Vidal Sassoon was before he passed away, but let's say you get to a certain age where you can no longer provide the best experience for students. Obviously, throughout the time, you're going to have educators under you, and government says to you, hey, when you're ready, when your time is up, and you feel like you want to retire, let us know who we appoint in this position to next.
How to tackle that? So, I think in terms, let's say you're giving me the monopole of the whole education.
I'm giving you you're the founding father of education.
Monopole.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we just concluded the second episode of the Barrier of Entry podcast. If you like today's podcast, please follow us on Instagram, like this video, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you guys at the next one.